the attacking side. So as you can see, teams are going to be Bjorlulu, Nerfed, Welshi, Dev, and Loner against player 1, Gimon Hoon Mikael, or Michael. You've been saying Michael. I'm just going to go with
Michael.
Michael.
He apparently goes by Michael.
Yeah, that looks
like Michael. As well. I was corrected at some point down the line. We've just got the Sova out towards C. They've obviously got a little bit of potential. There's a Sage tucked up in garage. I don't know if the Owl drone spotted that, but either way, they're not going to test it. So at least for the moment, that Sage will be comfortable. It'll be Loner to lock down this site, and no one's peeked him yet. There's 3 in Cubby with a 4th coming up just now, and he has seen nothing. But the smoke's going down, going to be a strong indicator here. They are swinging around, and great flash. Loner is blind for days. Blind as a bat, and now eliminated. Bjorn coming back through from that uncleared garage, going to get a pair of frags here. That's a bit of a problem now. Getting a little wonky here, trying to jump up over garage, getting a little bit of an uppercut shot. That Spike could presumably go down behind this wall here. But the longer they wait, the tougher this is going to get.
There's that blast charge towards the top of the boxes. Gimon eventually going to get the last kill on the round. A bit of a chaotic pistol there, as it looked like potentially the Sage was going to do some serious damage for the defense, but it doesn't end up being the case. As you can see, it kind of fell apart there towards the latter part of that. So they went for that Sage wall to give themselves a little bit more of a boost in more ways than one. I think the Sage wall was not intended to boost them up, but at the same point in time, the Sova was on top of the wall, so they kind of rose together as one. So the pistol round goes the way of the attackers. The Shorty's going to come out here from the defense, and it's not a bad map to use them on. You can see there's a lot of curves and corners. You can use them towards double doors. You can use them on the outskirts of the B opening. You can use them on A short, which is my favorite location for them.
Yes.
And look at this. They're going to get a crossfire.
Both sides.
Yeah.
Yes. This is not a double team you want to walk into. This is not a good time. But they might circumvent it. It looks like, at least for the moment, the Cypher slipped out towards long. We're going to see this a lot, which is this Cypher camera into A main, and then just kind of clearing out long, seeing somebody's there. If they are swinging off the information from the camera to get the pick, or to attempt to get the pick, and if not, maybe just a little bit of a clear. But the Spike's making its way over now. If they test A short, this should definitely net 1 frag. Whether it will be more than one remains to be seen, but it seems like they're completely circumventing it. Everyone so far going long, and here we go. Okay, here's the lambs to the slaughter. There's 2 moving in. Are they going to have this? Dev has to be careful, has to resist the temptation to swing out. They're going to get both. Nobody dropped. Welsh, 2 barrels, each a kill. And there's a 3rd for Welsh. He's still with the shorty. He hasn't even found the gun yet, but he may have just won this round for his team. Dev still in this position, able to come in rapidly on the retake. Yes, the Spike is down, but they have to devote so much time to trying to clear out his ankle, and I don't think they're going to realize he's still here. So there's another kill. 4 frags from this one position, from this one setup, and now all of the pressure on PL1, who's backing into a player. He's actually cleared out of that flank. They are going to swing him, and it'll be the frenzy of all things to put in the final nail in the coffin. That's going to be a defuse, and that is an excellent second round, all off of a nutty shorty play.
Vez saw my my pregame chatter. he didn't appreciate that. Vez, it's all love, brother. You know it.
They ratted you out. They sent out the screenshots.
Yeah, they probably did, honestly, and I wouldn't even get that upset about it. That's what we were talking about. Like, sometimes I kind of wish we saw, like, one of the things is we don't really see the chat in this. Like, chat in the pregames of all the lobbies that I've been in thus far, they're not toxic. They're questionable for broadcast, sure, but they're just fun. Like, it's literally just like, guys are like, I really just enjoy this game, and like, I'm just here to goof off and have a good time. Like, if it's Overwatch players and Counter-Strike players, they're talking trash about each other's games. You'll see them talk about, like, they'll be like, oh, MDL team, huh? And they'll be like, oh, Overwatch Contenders team, huh? Not that that's pretty frequent at this level. And plus, let's be real, the Overwatch players can't even hang, so it doesn't matter. There's been like 1 or 2 Overwatch players who played really well. Actually, what surprised me the most, as we see the round kick off here, and Nerf finds 2 kills, tries to go for the 3rd, not going to get it. It is just pistols coming out here from the attack.
Spikes down, though.
There was a team that played in the Pittsburgh Knights tournament over the weekend, and in this tournament called High Ground. High Ground's a bunch of PUBG professional players, or former professional players. They actually play really well. And I was thoroughly surprised by how well those guys played, and I would like to see more of them. And I'm going to get to, because they're going to be competing in all these tournaments. So,
well, do you think so? Basically, my experience with PUBG has been that it's a game that's been really a mess of bugs and issues. And so is that kind of like training with, it's like weighted clothes in a fighting movie or an action anime type thing? You take off the weighted clothes that are the incredibly difficult to deal with PUBG game, and you're suddenly in a different game, and it's like, oh man, guns go where they're supposed to. Like, there's not a ton of glitches.
Oh man, you mean
I
get a gun when I spawn? I don't have to worry about finding one. You're telling me the scope comes pre-installed on this sniper rifle?
Yeah.
How about that? Yeah. Wait, no one's laying down inside this window waiting for me? That's great. Yeah, there's definitely some things about that are great. Now, I don't know if we just missed it, unfortunately, but this is one of those fun one-ways you can do. It's not even really a one-way. So you boost up on yeah, it's pretty commonly pre-fired, which is surprising that they didn't. But one of the tricks that's been popping up from these players at this level of play is turning the wall the other way. So normally you would turn the wall horizontally and block the door. The second you see that ice, you know, okay, they're probably doing the boost trick. If you straighten that wall out on the other side of the door, it's less obvious, so they're less likely to pre-aim that spot. Still, you'd expect it to happen eventually. Now, there's the owl going down with the dart in mid. They're actually going to send bodies over towards C, and that's the right call. They've got Sage and Silva starting to move over, but as they did, the attacking side's now going to shift their focus over towards the A site. And over on the A site, we've got Dev, the solo anchor, playing the breach.
I just want to point out one thing. Michael is lucky to be alive right here. We saw the Sova sent an owl over, got the tag, and then the second player swung. Not quite sure who that was, but they spammed the angle. He had 5 health before the Sage orb came in, so that's a nice detail here. The Sage will save him here. Now the take on, but Dev gets 1. Yes, they're going to be dumping utility into heaven to block him from doing much more, but that doesn't matter. He's found the pick, and now off the back of the Sage res as well as a 4v2. He'll get that spike down, but this retake is going to be fast, and it's going to be furious, and it's largely going to be up to Michael, I think, here to really get some damage as they swing the corner. Do they know he's here? Good timing on the cage. He's flashed. He's dead. It's only going to be 1 for PL1 before the mop-up comes through. A 3-kill for Welshie in the round, the defuse to boot, and a 3rd round here for the big frames.
That flash was like absolutely brutal for Michael. Again, we talked about this in last week's event that we did, the amateur qualifier for the Team 1 Invitational. That was Wednesday. That was not that long ago. But there was actually chatter on the stream and in the chat amongst some of the players who were competing talking about Breach's efficacy at the higher level of play. And it was kind of decided that Breach at the time didn't feel like that useful of a hero. And actually, if you watch that broadcast, we maybe saw Breach play 2 times the entire day. Now, you will not go a single game without seeing Breach played. It's completely changed in a matter of a week. Cypher is still up there, as is Sage, as 2 S-tier characters, in my opinion, the agents for that matter. But it's interesting to watch the meta develop literally in a 24-hour cycle. New things come, new things go, but it's always fun to watch.
And at the end of the day, everyone's a copycat. Everyone's learning every game. So as soon as someone shows you that one thing is viable, it's like, oh, I never really considered applying this particular bit of utility in this manner. Nice peek out from Bjor. The slow orb was coming in, but just wasn't quite quick enough. And now you see the spikes actually caught towards long. So there's 2 players coming through from the garage, but all of the pressure is going to be onto this Brimstone to actually get into sight. And that's PL1. He's just got the Sheriff as well. His smokes have faded by now because too much time has gone off in this take. They're trying to maybe bait a little bit of space for him, I think, to move up. But with a Cypher camera here, you imagine when he eventually does try and make his move onto site, he's going to be spotted.
Effie's also just kind of screwed up that jump into the window. So went to jump up into the window, missed the jump, made a noise, and that's when you heard some spray coming through the wall, so they decided to back off. Now, there's the dry peek from Pure Lulu. They didn't expect that many people to be moving their way up onto the C site. So here comes the push in. The Molly's going to go down. That's the one-way from Welshie on the cage. It'll come down to PL1 with just a Sheriff.
He can get to a rifle, I think. He's going to prioritize the spike.
Problem.
Goes for the peek, actually. I like this. Doesn't hit the head, though. And that's the end of it. Time pressure, as you said, was there, but he felt like he needed to take down one of those angles before they could just get the timing for the double peek in once he comes off the spike. And I respect the play. Just doesn't quite work out in that instance. A lot of things working against him. But it is going to be 4-1. At the end of the day, even if some of these rounds maybe present opportunities for the French Canadians, there's been no success. What I will say, though, is now they've got rifles, and they've also got 4 ults to play off of. This should absolutely be a round. There will be no better opportunity for them, especially considering the defensive side really just has that Cypher and potentially the Breach ult to play off of the next round.
There's that mid
Camera out
damage towards the door. Yeah. They almost always spam that door early on, just rip the armor off. Again, there's like, I feel like sometimes you almost want to explain like what's going on, because the game is so early on and not everyone's had a chance to even try it. Like you mentioned, the fact that you can buy guns for a teammate is not in the tutorial. That is a little bit odd. But at the same point in time, the tutorial isn't a tutorial so much. Now we've got Gimon going for the ult here as Sova does kill one, got a connection onto a second. Good damage there. But there's the daze coming in as that fissure laid out on the ground. The tremor from the breach. Dev over in the B site, locking things down with the Vandal. They've got support from the Cypher, who's coming in now from A connector. That's Welshie. Meanwhile, there's a res in here on the attacking side. So Big Frame's going to be working with a man disadvantage or two, but it's turned back around and now just a man disadvantage as Loner disconnects one from the attacking side with that operator. Welshie.
I don't know if you caught it, but Effie's was trying to make a play up towards the C garage, and he actually got caught off by Gimon's ult, forced into a corner, and then killed by Nerf. But here's going to be a take on towards site. Nice use of the cyber cage to isolate the fight, but still can't win the goal. It was a 1v2, even just at that angle. He will lose his life. That might just have been the last opportunity. It is indeed. Loner's going to save. He's got an operator. It's definitely worth keeping this alive. He'll try and get one more exit. Again, it's just a point towards your ult. It's potentially a difference maker towards getting that... you said it was the Hunter's Fury is the technical name for it?
Correct.
It's not 3 Hanzo arrows. That's not the technical name for it?
Yeah, no.
I thought that was the lore name was Hanzo arrows.
I am not a huge fan of that ult as a player personally. I've played Sova. Sova is the, oh crap, my mains are picked, I'll play Sova. And I'm not very good at it, and I know that. And I'm not great at the other characters I play. I play Sage very aggressively, which is like not how you're supposed to play that character
at
all.
And
I do actually really like playing Brim. Brim to me just makes sense. The smokes, I've been watching a lot of teams play and like their comp setups, and I've learned a lot of like really fun takes onto sites, and I'm starting to settle back into that role as well with Sage, using that wall, like reserving it for a post plant, and just getting really annoying with it. For instance, on like Bind, like you can wall off between the APC and basically the wall that's outside of showers. So you can get the spike down, and it's planted for like U-Haul and short. And it's really annoying for them to get back in. The only thing you have to watch out for is a jet that leads over the top of the APC, or you can actually boost over APC. It's not exactly fluid. Boosting isn't really allowed, but there are ways to get around it if you boost into a corner.
Revealing area.
We've seen our fair share of players doing that. Now, there's the recon dart long. Does Loner pre-fire the spot? No, not today. Just jump peeking right now, the Brim smoke on long. The Brim is out there picking up the ult orb, and that'll be a free ult orb from 301, who almost stays past his welcome, but still escapes with the ult orb regardless.
You were talking about Sage efficacy. One of my favorite things about Sage is her ability to lock down a site, basically solo, because she just has so many small abilities. The slow orbs, which you're seeing deployed in Garage right now, but then also the wall. If you use your slow orb to get the noise indicator as they try and go through it, and as soon as you realize they're trying to take an angle, say it's A short or A long in this instance, or really any other site, you just drop that wall and tough luck. You're either going to spend 10 seconds shooting your way through this and coming in with empty clips, or as the reload comes in, give me a chance for a peek, or you're going to go a different direction. And either way, that gives time for teammates to get there. It's a very potent character if you play a sort of more passive style to it. They are going to make their play out on the C, and here we're going to see Pure have to stick on that solo play. His location is revealed. They'll be caught by Gimon, but the trade is instantaneous, and the play is going to be coming back in. This retake should be vicious. Loner, pressure's on, but the pressure is overcome. Spike will be planted at least for that little bit of economic bonus, but Nerf immediately cleans it up, and 4 players surviving. The defuse coming in. This is a very comfortable 5th round for the Big Frame.
One of the things I think that makes some of these characters like just more or less weak is how they just install into the current meta, but I feel like Sage is one that will be strong regardless.
You can't not pick her. She gives you a 6th player.
She is a must. You have to have Sage. In fact, we covered a game on Saturday for that Pittsburgh Knights tournament. Me and Van Silly were casting that one, and I think it was the Veil, which is a pretty good team. The Veil is a bunch of TF2 players, and then Xanders and Foe, who obviously played Counter-Strike for a pretty significant period of time.
Yes.
They played a game without a Sage. I thought it was really bizarre. I hadn't seen that ever. They were one of the only teams I'd seen that played without Sage. Now look at this play from Loner. This is 100% going to get punished if he's not careful. There's the first shot. Gotta be more careful. Second shot there. Yeah, there's the third. The kill's finally going to come through. You knew it was coming eventually. But look at that. Michael's actually going to gun down there through the brim smoke on long C. So that gives them a second opportunity.
I know exactly where.
There's the hat getting thrown out from the Cypher. But yeah, that's a little bit of a waste of an ult, unfortunately.
I think this game is really going to get interesting when players just get instantaneous reactions to an ult coming out. So Cypher's ult drops there. They know players were out towards C long. The wall comes up immediately, and Sage just says, okay, you've got info, play off of it. Oh, what? There's a wall? Too bad. So now you can see the counter response. Sage is going to play tucked. They don't know where these players are towards site. They're still going to try and make the play into C, which is interesting to me since they know that this defense was at least heavily towards site. But a nice clear on the Bjor, a nice prediction, and the second kill in makes this a lot easier. So it's just going to be the breach in the hands of Dev. He's got to make his way back through. He does have some utility still up, including his flashbangs. If he gets one kill here, he'd have the ult to try and fight the second, but he's actually made noise just touching the edge of the cyber cage, so I think they're going to know he's here. The Sova definitely spots him with the drone. Now there could be a swing, and you can see him trying to pull off as a result of it. He's going to come through. There's still a player out towards long as an insurance policy here. Even if he does take this first fight, it's going to be challenging. Expecting the pink through from Garage, trying to take that fight, not successfully blinding Guimond. That is going to be an easy mop-up and a securing of the third round for the French Canadians.
Yeah, the French Canadians not off to as great a start as they were in their previous series, but they're finding their stable footing. PL1 currently the top performer, 9-7 for them. Wellsheet 10-6. Again, this is a rematch of a game from earlier on in the bracket play. When who did we see? We saw Big Frames and them play, but at what point in the bracket was that?
It was, I think, 2 rounds ago. No, sorry. Earlier than that. Hang on. I think it was the 4th round of the upper bracket. I'm trying to remember how long ago that was relatively. Quite a ways, I think. It's a big bracket. Yeah, 4th round of the upper bracket was where they squared off.
Okay, so it was a while ago.
It's been a minute.
Shock darts going down on mid. From Kimon thinking that there's one over in the corner. There isn't. So 2 wasted shock darts, unfortunately. That's actually a significant economic drain, and not only that, those darts can be really useful. Well, it's one of those things I feel like I see, you'll see it in CS. You'll see people kind of dump utility early in rounds, like double flashing something when there's no one there, and then the late round comes and you have nothing to work with. Yeah, sure, so the Sova shock darts are a little awkward maybe, but in a post-plant scenario, those Sova shock darts can be devastating. You have, like, that A site on lock and someone's trying to come through heaven and you just send 2 and it does so much damage. Speaking of which, here's Wellsheet, and Wellsheet couldn't see what was going on there. Through that brim smoke, just obliterated. Almost looked like they were taking damage from the ult that came in so fast as the damage just stacked up quickly. Nerfed. Able to gun down one. The spike being planted here on the A site. And Nerfed, gotta be careful with 5 HP. There's the ult coming in from the Sova here on the attacking side. Or the defending side, excuse me, is Loner. Another Brimstone ult coming out, this time from the attacking side. As they try to work their way in, it's a back and forth volley when it comes to the kills. Missed shot from Loner, and it's actually going to be a mop-up here, a 4K from PL1. Again, the top performer for the attacking side of French Canadians, who find their 4th round.
It was a nice take. It was really nice that I held on in the post plant because there were a ton of ults thrown at them, a ton of utility as well. And just to be able to take that heaven peak, I think Wellsheet getting back into the smoke was maybe a little ill-advised, but he definitely didn't expect a second volley of spam to come through. But just generally a nice hold there from the French Canadian squad. I think, just an observation on the spectator client, I think this is really going to come alive as a communicative, interesting, easy to read spectator client in developing the minimap as far as how it shows ults and utility. I think that that's going to be a really big tip-off. Right now, I like the way Breach's ult is presented, where you sort of see the waves coming out and you kind of know the degree it's going to come through. I want to see that same philosophy applied to other abilities. Look at PL1. The drone missed him. Loner doesn't realize he's here. The owl went right past him, and so PL1 gets the kill as a result. And now C is wide open. They have to move the brim back through. Nerfed has to cover this off, and that sort of spreads this defense very thin.
They do have Sage ready potentially for a fast rotate, but not with the greatest of hardware. It's just going to be a Ghost and timing. There you go. Kind of looked like that was going to happen. So probably going to be their round to take. Now, one of the things you have to remember as well, if you're playing a Breach, or you're playing a Sage, for instance, your abilities do affect your teammates. So throwing down a slow orb, that's going to affect your teammates. But the reason I say that with Breach is because Breach has so many abilities like the Flash and the Tremor and all of this other stuff. Breach Charge, you can actually kill your teammates. Same goes with Raze with the nades. I've seen people TK with the nades quite frequently, actually, in pub play. Obviously, it's not necessarily going to be a thing in competitive play, but something to be aware of. You'll see, actually, we watched Lex's team, which is like Lex, BCJ, Grego, those guys. Grego playing Breach and ulting his entire team on a take towards the B side on this map. They were all standing in front, and he just sent the shockwave through, and everyone's like running slow into the site.
Oh,
yeah.
That hurts. That one hurts. And you've just got the frustration of you need to sort of immediately forget. Gimon actually gets taken out by the spike there. So their only casualty of the round is just due to the very edge of the spike. One thing that's interesting to me, the last game that we watched from the squad, just previously, PL1 was bottom of the board, Guimond was top of the board. Now, PL1 having himself a better one. Maybe just need a bit of a warm-up. He's 15-7-1, having a very strong showing here on the brim. Just generally making short work of the opposition, and it's led them to this tied scoreline here. FE's maybe needed to step up a bit, but the last time we saw it, he was second from the top, so we know there's still that reserve of ability and skill into him, where we should see that start to wake up.
Ooh, some spam coming through. The Sage actually getting dinked. That's the armor being ripped away, so that'll be frustrating early on. I don't think the same can be said for Nerfed, who did that damage. They got into a spam fight through those walls, and Nerfed comes out the better. Has no idea that he did that damage. Jimmy just kind of sending the bullets down range. But a significant blow early on, and the Sage has to actually blow the self-heal as well. So now they'll start moving their way back towards C. Some slow play coming in here as the Sage drops down the slow orb, trying to delay the eventual push. Welshie watching for the short push. Brimstone now moving over as well. This is a heavy stack towards C. The only thing going on elsewhere on the map is this slow and steady push from the lurker of Michael over on the A site, which you should expect to see every single round. And oh, that's very creative. Ducking down underneath that Sova arrow, barely gets into that corner just beneath the boxes before that happens.
Dev's position is going to be critical here. I think the Cypher on the other side desperately wants to come through. Oh, this could be a flashbang. He'll take the fight to them. The timing perfect, but he peeks into his own flash. And Michael, it hadn't bloomed yet, so he just gets the kill. That's a big misplay from Dev in the corner. And now the site is right for the take. They've got it. They've got the spike down. They've got 4 ults to hang on to it with as well. They can get the res up to make this a 5v3 if they do choose to do so. Surprised, honestly, the Sage hasn't made the move to do so, but now that she's tucked into the corner, there's really not a chance to get back out. She's committed to this fight. There will be no chance for the res. They're just going to take the duels. And there's the swing. There's the clear. One down, but the trade is perfect. And PL1's done enough. Guimond can mop up the last. That will be taking the lead. The French-Canadian, who battled back from a really strong start from the big frames. It was, what, 5-2 at one point? And now French-Canadians looking pretty prime.
Now, here's another thing that's interesting, by the way, and I don't want to gripe too much about the UI. You can't see the ping.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. I've also spoken about this before. There's a lot of dead space between the player portraits and the names. I would love to see some sort of information put into there, like whether or not they have armor or utility, like what skills they have bought. Yes. That would be nice just to see illustrated. Again, what you're seeing as the UI for the spectator client right now is what players see. It's literally the player-spectator UI.
I know exactly.
Repurposed to work for a spectator UI for the game. So it's not like this was designed to be a spec client. It just happens to be the case. So I love the play right now. Michael again being that lurk on the A site, the glue that keeps them positioned elsewhere across the map. But the bomb is planted all the way on the other side of the map. So that was going to make much of a difference.
Well, that's exactly what he did, right? He got the pick towards A long, he dropped the Cypher ult, so then they knew C was completely clear and they could just walk onto the site with no problem. That was the whole intention here. A couple kills out towards the flank do bring us maybe into a bit of concern, and this is getting problematic indeed, but Demon taking matters into his own hands. He's just going to walk into that site as soon as they break that wall, take the pressure, and the ult's not even necessary because PL1 has found the frag. So it's just going to be the Sage. She's got to catch the spike. They've got enough time on her. I think they may just win this based on time, but they'll also get the peek out. Had to stick it. Pure really had no opportunity to survive, and it is going to be 7-5 at the half. Doesn't matter if you survive. We are switching on over.
I like the play from Nerf. Nerf knew it was the last round of the first half. You got to make something happen. So just runs through the molly, down to 3 HP into the site. So yeah, the Brim ult did pop after the flames did significant damage behind the target, taking the damage from those flames. Regardless, 7-5 is not bad, all things considered. It was 5-2, and it was looking like after that 6th round, or the 7th round, excuse me, when we saw the defending side pick up a victory after just 1 round win for the attackers, that it was going to start spiraling a little bit. But it doesn't end up being the case. Things sort of balanced out, and now they'll be switching over to the defending side with a little bit of an advantage. Again, love seeing these long arrows. We'll see if Gimon can actually connect here. Supposed to land right on this tree branch. Nope. Still struggling with that arrow.
A little deep.
Sends it back outside the field of play. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't really do much there. Now, Welshi just dispatched of one on long. As the Sage goes down, that was quick and early in the round.
And nice tag on Effie's as well. And with that Sage gone, now you can't recover this health at all. He's down to 38. No armor to boot. It's going to be serious pressure on. I think it was a dink through the garage doors or right in the crack in them. He's going to try and retake this fight. They're right on the other side, and Pure will dispatch him. So no problem here. Maybe a bit of damage done, but that's about it. C-Site has fallen. Imon was the next victim. Lambs to the slaughter right now, it seems. And they're going to try and make a retake, I think, but with a 2v5. And full control of the C garage and also C long, bomb planted for it. This is so tough. Even if they get through this initial fight, and they may just get an easy one, as Loner seems like he wants to get a bit aggressive behind the stage wall, admittedly. Even if they get through that first fight, even if they clear the players on site, the breach is just going to swing from long, and you're going to have to contend with that. So this is brutal. They will save. We don't frequently see a save on pistol rounds. There's not that much of a benefit to doing it, but with back halls blocked off, with garage full of enemies, they just don't even want to poke their toes.
Yeah, you do keep your weapons, or your abilities, excuse me, when you die. So there's no real reason to save outside of the weapons that you've brought in from the previous round. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see people saving, and Dev is going to make sure that that isn't even close to being a reality. Dev jumping around the corner, making up for that misplay on Breach over in the A site just a few rounds ago in that first half. You kind of look back at that and you go, man, if Dev had played that just a little bit slower with that flashbang on that attempted take,
yeah, right,
probably could have mopped up. But instead, blinds himself, makes it a free kill for the attacking side. But again, as an initiator, Breach can be really good on the attack. So we'll see if Dev's able to turn things around. Currently sitting at the bottom of the scoreboard, both Breaches really off to a slow start. Effie's sitting at 2-10. Dev at 5-7. Now, because we can't see the ping, we can't tell if there is a net code impact.
It has been a little fluky right now. I've noticed it's gotten better as the beta has gone on. The first couple of days, I was having 90 ping, which as an East Coast player almost never happens unless they're but it seems to have gotten better as time has gone on. Obviously, this round, we're not expecting too much out from the defending side. They just don't have much to work with. It's kind of sticks and stones, and with the only player towards A having been taken down and the Cypher currently using his camera to realize that that's the case, I suspect we're going to see a quick spike plant here in a quick round. One thing I want to talk about with you, Mark, the sightedness. No, just shut it down. No discussions here.
Go ahead.
Obviously, we've already talked about how the meta has shifted within a week of the first tournament that NSG has held to this point in terms of breaches, usefulness. I think the sightedness of maps, as far as which side has the advantage, is still very much up in the air.
Yeah.
But despite my initial bias of thinking, oh, a 3-site map, that's going to be so easy as the attackers, I actually do think Haven leans towards the defense. I think it's because of the choke points that are on towards A and C, it's not that bad to hold.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I'd say in general all 3 maps currently play towards the defense. I think that's just going to be a standard you're going to see. Again, it is early on, so it's hard to know, like, is that really the meta, or is it just the meta currently? Will people find new ways to play the map? I mean, with control characters being so strong right now, when I say control characters, I mean characters like Sage, like the Cypher, and like Brim. You give yourself a lot of power on that defending side, depending on the map. You know, Viper, even on certain maps, is really strong. Viper on Split is really broken, but not like broken. Just there are some Viper screens, the toxic screen, that go way further on that map than I've seen on other maps. There's one that you can throw from spawn that covers off A long and A upper. But then again, there's Viper screens like that as well on Bind. You can throw one from the showers that cuts off the A site, and you can throw one from A short that also cuts the other direction. And it makes a diagonal wall all the way across from CT spawn to showers, or from the basically like the back boxes towards heaven all the way across towards the front of site. So I think you're going to find as like the days go by, and I literally mean days, it could be hours, you could watch people find new things. The question is this illegal? Is this loud? Is this broken? Is it not? That's when you start to try to figure out, you know, is this going to actually shift the meta, or is it only going to shift the meta for an hour before things turn back around? Like we saw with our event last weekend, when there was potentially some camera placement that I think actually has since been patched out by the developers.
You do kind of, it's the exciting thing of a new game, right? Uncharted territory. There's so much that can be done. There's so much innovation. The thing that I think I put out a tweet earlier about it, the thing that's most exciting for me, especially when I was watching player perspectives, is when a team sees something they've never seen before, and everybody learns as they figure out, it's like, how did I get killed? Oh, that happened. Okay, well, how do I adjust my gameplay to prevent that from happening again? And to me, as a caster and as somebody who enjoys watching or keeping track of sort of the meta game as developed in the competition, this is such early territory that it's very exciting in that way. Heavy pressure coming towards A. Michael maybe wishing he had a little bit more of an established protocol for what to do when 5 players are walking in to destroy you. And he is going to die. He was blinded, he was boosted up on a wall, he was shut down, shot down, and there was really no hope of survival. They'll maybe attempt a retake, but I think unless PL1 gets a quick pick from on Heaven, yeah, okay, they're just going to bail out. He didn't even really want to peek out. Unless someone was getting quite bold and gave him something for free, he's just going to...
Yeah. Now, here's what I want to know. How long until more maps are released? Do we have to wait until the game goes full access? How long until another...
Access?
It's summer. That's all we know. There's no definitive date as far as I know. It's just summer.
Right.
How long until we get more maps? How long until we get another agent? And then, you know, the conversation I kind of struck up over the weekend was, will they release more guns as well? Will we see more gunplay come into this?
That's a good question.
Because, you know, I would like to think that that'll be the last thing they add. But I would also believe that they will be adding agents pretty quickly. I'd say agents, maps first, agents second, but they'll probably add more agents than they add maps in the first year. And that'll change the meta every single time it happens. You're going to see, obviously, a shift.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious which one's actually going to come first, and what that character's like abilities are going to be, how heavily they're going to kind of topple things over and completely change the gameplay, and how pissed the core game audience is going to get initially. Because think about it like this. Most of the people who are doing well in this game right now are Counter-Strike players, and if one thing Counter-Strike players don't like, it's change.
Meta change. Yeah.
They hate change. So I am really curious to see how well that Counter-Strike audience is going to react when that eventually happens, because it's going to happen.
I think one of the biggest potential pitfalls that I personally foresee for this game is going to be related to the introduction of those new characters, your heroes, agents. I think is the technical
agents, correct.
parlance. And I think that's the potential for power creep. Which every time you incorporate a new character, they're going to have shiny abilities, and people like to play them, and there's a tendency as a developer to want to make them powerful and relevant to the meta, and there could be an unfortunate tendency that we've seen with other games of perhaps making them a little too effective vis-a-vis existing agents or operators, heroes, whatever, from the game that you've come from. And I think the biggest risk for a game like this, where you want the core mechanic to be the gunplay and the movement and those kind of things, is to make those abilities just a little too potent. So I think for the devs, that's going to be the trick. Making sure as you incorporate new elements, as you incorporate new operators or agents, that still in account there are counters, that there are drawbacks to using them, and that everything sort of exists in harmony.
I mean, that's one thing, though, that Riot has done. If you look at their track record with League of Legends, a new champ comes out, and it's initially overpowered, and then it gets nerfed down. The question is whether or not that new champ or the new agents will be allowed immediately in competitive play. There's so many question marks, and that's what's fun. Is none of us really know. It's just fun to theorycraft. Here comes the push on the retake. Here, the Sage Wall does go down. That's a peculiar Sage Wall. How that would ever help you on the defense? I know that it cuts off the hell side, so they have to run all the way around, but at the same point in time, I feel like it limits your take. That is heavily limiting, because now you're stuck going through one side around this box. You just choke point yourselves. I
think he probably missed the wall into heaven, because there's a wall you can drop that just completely blocks off the heaven window.
Yeah, but that was from the defense coming into the site. Retake? Yeah, that was on the retake.
I guess just to lock the player in towards, but they had already flashed that player. So
yeah, so that was the part that was weird about it to me, because the attacking side laid down their Sage Wall right away towards spawn.
Right, to block it off.
I don't know. Maybe it was just because they wanted to do something more with that wall, and it just got plopped in the wrong place. But it was very peculiar placement, just because it really did kind of push you all into one area. I get the idea. If the idea was to lock off hell, I get that idea. But I actually think that it probably was just a mistake. Like, the wall got messed up.
So, one other question is, we're getting a little bit of a slower take in here, although they're already starting to move into their A take. This is tried and true. This is working out nicely for them. Do you think that as we get more agents in, as we get more potential abilities, do you think that a competitive scene might potentially wind up in a situation where we have bans? We have character bans.
Yeah, so that's like another one of those maybe. Probably. If we're being honest, there'll probably be like picks and bans for agents. I mean, there'll obviously be picks and bans for maps. But again, we talked about this too. I was talking to Van Silly about it. Counter-Strike is known for having a 7-map pool. We don't know how many maps they're going to have. They could have 30. We have no way of knowing what the plans are with the Riot devs. I'd like to believe, having some people that come from a Counter-Strike background, that maybe that would be the case, but we, again, really do not know. Here comes the retake towards the site. They're going to be leading their way in. The Sage goes down first. Well, she's spamming through, not going to connect. Effie's with the pistol, trying to make it do with the Sheriff. Now, Nerfed is on the other side of those Brim smokes. Actually walks into the tripwire, looking for it, can't find it. Nerfed is stunned, but it doesn't matter. The rest of his team manages to make it work. And he will be able to get away as well outside of the bomb distance as well. That spike, when it detonates, creates that large black cloud of doom. And it can be, you can actually die if you walk into it after the fact.
One thing that I'm noticing on these retakes from the French-Canadian side is they look a little disjointed. It feels like somebody's calling, all right, we go now, and one player's responding to it, maybe two, but not everyone. Because that's when we saw the Sage. I think that's Quinn. Over on the Sage, it is indeed. He strode confidently to try and take the fight hell. The only problem is you need one of your teammates to swing the player to the right. And nobody swung the player to the right, so he's just shot in the back. There's no chance to really do anything about it. Whereas if his teammates had all moved out and all burst in the same moment, they're probably still not going to win that. There were a lot of pistols involved on their side, but at least they have a chance to shoot back. So a little bit of a concern here on the retake, and I do like the change-up here, at least from the French-Canadian side, to play a second player, PL1, joining over towards Zag.
Found them. I'm sorry, I don't know if you saw that. Loner was playing games with the other Sofa's owl drone. He was trying to run into it with his own so they could block it. It was actually quite entertaining.
I've seen that before. I've seen them try and do a
he actually recon darted the other owl drone. So he shot it with a dart. I'm not really sure why you should be able to do that, but you did. So. Did
you know you can recon dart the sniper cameras?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Left. There's some... It shows them they're hidden still.
Yeah, so like there's like the the kind of interesting quirks about the game, like back when you used to be able to give Cypher's camera a gun.
That was
a quick bug that was fixed pretty quickly, but definitely entertaining one. Just illustrating some of the things that needed to be tweaked right off the bat. As much as we talked about how well polished this game is, there were definitely some bugs. Welshi, 1-4, trying to push through into short C where the spike was down. Not today, says the French Canadians. 10-8, 18 rounds in, and we are still just as close as we've ever been. The buy coming in from both sides here should be solid. Loner's sitting on 12K, 10,600 for Nerfed. And even though Bjorlulu is low on money, they could easily drop if they wanted to try and balance out the checkbook.
Have we seen a B take on this entire attack?
We didn't really see any B activity in the first half either.
No, we didn't.
B is very awkward at like a higher level of play.
It's easy to take. It's very hard to hold on to. Is sort of my thought process on it. Interesting. We might finally be seeing it. I might have called them into it. They're taking some aggression up towards it. It's just going to be Quinn behind it. I'm just surprised we haven't seen any sort of motion here so far.
Well, you have the Sage wall that can go down, that can really slow things down. You obviously have the slow orbs as well. Sage, gotta be careful. Oh, they almost went for it. They wanted to. The Sage wall was almost there to block off that door. If they throw that Sage wall down and they hear the gunfire on the other side, then it's time to throw the slow orb on the opposite end of it. So there's the slow orb. There you go. Sage wall. There's the shots coming in. The slow orb going on the other side. The molly is burning. They're actually going to have to run into it. And this is exactly why you don't do it. There's the breach charge kill from Effie's as well onto Loner. It is so incredibly difficult with that singular choke point.
My ultimate is ready.
You got to try to get control of short C and go through the window as well.
Right.
And that's what they're doing now after the fact that they've had a heavy disadvantage now as they try to make that happen.
Smoke's down.
I think they're actually just going to punt and go for C as well, because without that initial kick, it's pretty tough to get into dangerous. That's a big one. So it's been one. Cyber Cage is up. Well, she will eventually get the better of him, but they've lost their probe to C. They'll waste this cycle. Well, maybe not waste. They can get the kill backside. Not sure how this doesn't come through, but the trade is there at least. But now it's all on Bjor. And his position is relatively known. He's hemmed in back by this wood wall. There's just no way to get out. The wall will buy him a moment, but only a moment. He's set to get a res. Bold. But now all the pressure is on to Welshi. And Welshi, not in a much better situation. Has the spike, at least takes the fight towards mid. Quinn has managed to stay alive throughout this and does in fact finish them all.
They had 2.5 seconds at that point, so there wasn't anything that could be done. That Sage wall res is a worthwhile effort, especially as you get towards the tail end of this second half. You know, you're looking at the scoreboard, getting closer and closer to round number 13. God, I love saying that.
That it's 13 as opposed to
16. Yeah, it's taking me back, reminding me of the good old era of Counter-Strike, back when I was just a wee lad.
It's funny, I saw puns in the chat saying that the Counter-Strike players are too busy collecting AARP checks to learn Valorant. This is an old man's game. This is absolutely the.
I mean, it was designed by an old Counter-Strike player. Like, let's be real. Yeah,
this is reliving the glory days. The number of 10-mans I've played with where the entire population cumulatively, like I was the youngest player there, and I'm 26. It's an old man's game.
Well, there's the ult coming in from Loner, getting one kill. That was over towards the C site. Guimond wants to extend on this, but might be a little bit risky. There's a lot of bodies building up in that territory. Guimond, again, playing super aggro with this operator, trying to take the fight to their doorstep, but not where it needs to be. Definitely not the time you want to call out that Aldrone. Guimond, yeah, that's terrible. The Tremor comes in, has to play in front of it to try to dodge the damage, and now they've lost the sight. Big Frames look poised to take this round as they are setting up the entire A site for defense. Well, she actually looked like they wanted to grab that ult orb before the spike got planted. Not going to happen. Now, one is already working their way up through heaven. That'll be Michael. And the rest coming through from CT spawn. There's the camera firing away. And the ult in response. They're going to start working their way through. They're trying to get in, but there's the cage is up. Finally, they're moving their way in, but it's making things quite difficult with all the abilities being popped here. That Tremor coming down on top of them, slowing down the retake, and now the retake has been called off. It will be a save from the remaining members of French Canadians, as it looks like Welshi, Borlulu, Loner, and Nerf will all survive escaping the bomb's detonation path or the spike. whatever you want to call it. 11-9.
This was the this Old Faithful as well. It was their A-tape, right? They ran it a bunch of rounds in a row to great effect. Finally, we saw the adjustment from French Canadians where they brought a second player over on the defense, and that was immediately when Big Frames changed it up. Now, the changeup didn't actually work that well. They didn't find much success towards C or in towards D as they experimented a little bit, but they did enough other things for long enough to lull the French Canadians into a false sense of security over on towards A, and just then they bring back the hammer. So interesting to me that we're not seeing two players stacked up on site. I think they're thinking that this is going to be the change-up pitch, if you will. But if this Cypher camera doesn't find anyone towards A, I think they might just fall back into Old Faithful, and it'd be the correct read here. Now, early mid-aggression could catch them off, but you can already see that it's withdrawn. They went for one quick peek to see if they were trying to make a way into garage. Finding nothing, the defense will just fade.
I'm having fun trolling some people there in the chat. Jasper, I love you, buddy. Oh, man, it's fun. Yeah. 9-11. Michael with the camera placement there over on the site. Let's see where Bjor's going to throw this Sage Orb. That should land in heaven. And there's the toss. John Elway with the throw. No, it's actually going to land back towards spawn. Oh, no, it's backside boxes. Backside boxes. Okay. And then the ult comes in from the brim. So if anyone was actually in that position, they're done for. There's the breach charge through the wall that has to back them off. Now, ironically enough, the breach was right in that position there on the defense. Almost walked right into the path of that breach charge, but it didn't happen. 4v4. Sage on both sides, so healing a possibility, but no ults are up here. The 12th round nearly in their grasp. Cypher playing in hell, the retake starting to come through. Effie's grabbing the corner. We'll get the first one as breach. It's a dry peek from Effie's, and it comes down to the last man standing. It's the Sage. Effie's finds 4 kills on the retake and plenty of time to defuse the spike. 10 rounds.
That
just one separating them from the opposite side.
Oof. That came down to the hero play from Effie's. Right? He's the one who came in with a 4K. That's absolutely the hero play, and what a time for him to step up as well. He's been having a quiet game, was bottom of the board for both sides up until that point, but in that point, he stood tall, he stood proud, and he made that work out for them. And they needed it, right? Because they've been having a ton of trouble on this A site retake. They have had their number called all day once they lose control of that site, trying to get back through the choke points. Just so much utility can be dumped right into that corner, right into that choke point, that there's little they could do. So they needed somebody to step up. It's exactly what they were delivered. Now we'll see if Big Frames do change up as a response, or if they go to Old Faithful. Right now it's their default, right? They use that camera for Cypher out towards A long, just to get a little bit of information. There's the counter camera from the other side, which might trigger the rotate, but he's just picked it up, and perhaps at the wrong time. I think he just spotted the Cypher, but they haven't called a rotation yet, so it's not firm information if it is indeed. And they've got control outside garage. They've lost a body towards C long, but it was a trade. No more and they realize no one's here. This could be another A take.
Yeah. Michael now nestling into the corner over on short. Couple of bodies grouping up back towards spawn more. Again, they've got the Sage who got the kill onto Guimon over on the C site. That was Guimon using the operator to peek long C. So now that they've lost that, it's been
look at how much of a
picked back up
weakness
by
they have towards garage. There's no
I mean,
one here.
Weakness in general, the center of the map is empty. Oh, the timing.
This is what Big Frames have trained them to do, because they've hit A so many times that they're like, all right, it's coming down to 30 seconds. They're going to go for this A take. Stack 3. But this is going to put so much pressure onto the Sage. Quinn has his work cut out for him. He's got the operator, and he's got his slowing abilities. He'll wall off short, but no one's coming from short. It's everybody coming out long. He'll hear them in the ice, but hearing is not good enough. He's got to hit them too. Does actually get one. That's not bad, but the trade is instantaneous, and the ult back in might just give the French-Canadian space. Time is running out. They have to get the spike down. They just moved the Finstone to safe. That puts all the pressure on Bjor to keep him safe. Spike is there with not a second to spare, but Michael here for the 1v1. It's all come down to this. Michael's already got the first. Needs the last, but it's nerfed. The boomer himself, the old man of the roster, to take it through and secure match point.
Big Daddy nerfed, also picking up the operator there at the end, so They'll be able to salvage that one on the round. There's the gun juggle going through. Again, the winner of this will be moving on in the tournament. The loser is eliminated. 3rd place. Still not bad. And guys, just in case you were wondering, there's plenty more to come. Plenty more to come.
Plenty.
Wink, wink, wink. So keep your eyes peeled. Maybe even after this game. Wink, wink, wink.
Ooh.
Smoke's down.
There's not a tournament after this game. That would be a little insane. Surprise! We're starting a tournament at midnight. Have fun.
Oh, yeah.
All those poor admins.
128 teams, double elimination.
Which character? There he is. Gimon, number 1. God, man. No matter how hard I try to remember, I just cannot seem to get it in my mind.
You won't.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, mini-map numbers, it's the solution.
Yeah, but the numbers I don't think would... Yeah. Maybe they would... Maybe I just want them to fix the numbers. As long as they're 1 through 5. Give me 1 through 5 and 6 through 0 that don't change at half. I'll still be able to figure it out.
Is this a shorty setup? No, it's a judgment setup. A judge
Yeah,
setup.
they got
You
the
don't see that very
judge.
often. Is this Stinger on the other side? Sorry, I'm trying to find this player.
Yes. 5
Stinger
is
and
Michael.
a
So.
judge. If you come through this choke point, you're gonna hurt. And they are going to do it. But Neffy's has found the first. There we go. It's only 1. Not the 2 for we saw with the shorty play earlier. Now this gets spicy. They realize the player's still on to the left. It may not matter if they're coming around long. Instead, they dealt with the judge. They dealt with the second as well. They've dealt with the player towards short to boot. It has been a complete cleanup. This A site, once again, the Achilles heel for the French Canadians. And this might just be the last chance they have for it to be exposed. Because they're completely isolated as well. This is a problem. The Cypher now knows one player's late on the swing. He also knows the Brimstone's right outside. There is no chance for substitutes. They know that no one's coming long, no one's coming short, most likely. It's going to be a double play out of CT, and the slow orb is a perfect timing.
Yeah, that SMG play could have been so much better, but it just didn't work out, and that's likely the way things are going to go down here. Finally, though, they're going to work their way into this A site. There's the peek from Bjorn. Bjorn struggling to find the first few shots. Gimon doing the damage, but it doesn't matter. Time has run out. And the map will be theirs. Even the kill coming through at the buzzer. TL1 dying to bomb of TL1. That's always a fun one as well. So congratulations to Big Frames. They will get a